They're the Republicans.
New York State of the State, it was today, and our own Andrew Whitman, he joins us from Albany with some of the moments that stood out. Andrew?
Rich, the theme of Governor Cuomo's State of the State address was New York rising from the destruction of Hurricane Sandy to what promises to be a better tomorrow for the state. And the governor did spend quite a bit of time focused on Hurricane Sandy, thanking and congratulating the first responders and the people who have already done so much, and really kicking it at Washington, who have been slow in giving the $60 billion in aid that the governors of New York and New Jersey have been asking for.
Our message to Congress is clear. New York is united. Deliver the aid we need and deserve. Do not play politics with the state of New York. Do not bring your political Washington gridlock to New York. Do not play politics while people need to be back in their homes and small businesses need money to open their door.
But when it came to the specific policies that the governor was pushing the state and state lawmakers for, today's speech could have been seen as a very progressive push by the governor. The governor calling for a rise in the state's minimum wage. He's also calling for an end to stop and frisk, as well as the decriminalization in public view of low levels of marijuana, the subject of a piece we focused on in the past. Also, he focused on a push for increased casino gaming in the state, as well as longer school days, perhaps even a longer school year or some combination of the two, as well as improved teacher standards. So a very progressive agenda being pushed by Governor Cuomo today, a speech that some lawmakers told me in confidence may have been the beginning of his re-election campaign in 2014 or the start of a wider campaign come 2016. That's going to do it from here in Albany at the State of the State address. And I'm Andrew Whitman. Rich, let's send it back to you in the studio.
All right, guys, we'll get into that in a second, but I've seen enough of, you guys see more than me, but where they danced or ignored the issue of casinos and everything else. You closed your eyes, you wouldn't know you had a Democratic governor, because listen to what he had to say about casinos, not an if, but a when.
A major challenge for us and a major opportunity for us is to get that traffic from New York City to upstate New York. As I said before, I believe if they visit, they will come back and they will stay. But we have to get them there. And I believe casinos in upstate New York could be a great magnet to bring the New York City traffic up.
Mike, well, first of all, impressions from today. It took forever, by the way, but anyway, beyond that.
Tremendously substantive speech, very long speech. If you, like everything, if you count up all the dollars, it's going to be a challenge to find out how to pay for a lot of the very good programs, very thoughtful programs. You know, this casino issue, we've been there many times before, and it's never passed. The makeup of both chambers has changed dramatically, and maybe this is something that whose time has come. I've not seen evidence of that yet, so I think there's going to be a lot of interesting trading back and forth. But the question is that truly the economic development linchpin for upstate?
If I was in Western New York or upstate, that's the only thing I heard him saying, which was basically your best chance is if they roll the bones. And you know, Dominic, the other thing for me was he hit on stop and frisk, and he spent a decent amount of time today on it as well. You a little surprised by that?
No, Governor Cuomo, his father, the Democratic icon, and the governor now, they've had strong relations with communities of color. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's throwing a bone to African-American, or for lack of a better term right now, but to African-American and Latino lawmakers, it's a good thing. But I just want to go back to the casinos for 1 second. I think the time has come. I think Governor Cuomo, and I don't know what Shelley Silver's going to do, but Governor Cuomo is going to use some of that capital. He's what, 70% plus range in the polls? Some of that capital, because he's right. Look at Richard. We've talked about this many times. Many of those upstate cities look like, no offense, like somebody's dropped a bomb on it.
You can't casino your way out of that.
It's a start.
It's not even a start.
They want it,
it's a start.
They want it in the Catskills and other places.
Casino's an interesting deal. This is what happened. Aqueduct opened as a casino. Atlantic City collapsed because New York City gamblers who are going to Atlantic City aren't going there. They're not going to go to
other reasons for Atlantic City, though.
I think not. I think if you look at what happened, the gambling in Atlantic City went this way as Aqueduct opened. I think there's a statistical correlation. But more importantly, if you have that going on at Aqueduct, why are people going to go to Monticello? You've got a casino up there already that's not doing very well. And what the governor did was ask for constitutional creation of 7 casinos, but only 3 of them he's announcing where they're going to be. He's also not really telling you where the money from the casinos is going to go.
He did say 90
No, he
cents in a
didn't. I
dollar went to
read it.
education.
He said that 90% will go to education and 10% will go to property tax relief of the money raised. It doesn't mean he's going to raise the same amount of money that people thought. Read the, here's the
enough.
point about
No,
the
no,
speech.
fair
One
enough.
last point. The speech is delivered is interesting and boring at the same time. The real place to go is what's called the big book. And it's pages long, and it's chock full of what's really being proposed. And as Mike said, if there was one strong point today, it's full of ideas. Good ideas,
How about the
some not
longer
so
school
good.
year? And the longer
You
school
know,
day?
good for him for mentioning it. But my point is that in the end, the way
said
in
the
which
same would pay for it, too.
with what?
Yeah.
I mean, Mike's point that this has to be paid for. This is an hors d'oeuvre. Supper will come when the budget's released in 3 weeks.
And no mention of a deficit.
No.
I mean, when you've heard discussions before,
that, yeah.
it's always been, wait a minute, we have a deficit. Remember this, we got a deficit, and yet you come and you propose all these great ideas, potentially, but then there's no discussion, and we have a way to close that deficit so we can make this a reality. You know, that's what I know a lot of lawmakers
Yeah,
are
but
sitting
the
back.
speech is not supposed to be a budget blueprint. It's supposed to be aspirational.
It is interesting, though. You close your eyes. He wants to privatize LIPA, for example. I mean, it's things that
Back to the future.
But Republicans must have an interesting time figuring them out, because other than a few social issues, he might as well be a Republican.
He's a progractionary. He's a progressive on the social stuff and a reactionary on the economic stuff. That's the way some of these guys have tried to make a career. It didn't work.
2016,
Well,
2016.
definitely there is a progressive agenda. I mean, a minimum
called it
wage. I mean, the women's rights. I mean, he certainly went there, but then he tacked to the right on obviously issues like crime, and I think he found his footing when it came to the disaster response. That he was very visible during that entire process.
You can't get animated on that. Give up. I mean, if you're a governor in New York, New Jersey, and even
Well,
Connecticut.
George Bush managed to not do it
fair
particularly
enough.
well.
That's
He
fair
did
enough.
the response part well. He never developed the statutorily required prevention plan. Net result, Goldman Sachs sandbags and survives. The Brooklyn Battery Tunnel
He
is
did at least.
ruined.
He put at least the oration around. We got to build better the next time. We'll see what that looks like. All right. When we come back, though, Richard Brodsky, man of the hour, because a big court victory against the NRC, everything to do with Indian Point. We'll explain after this.